Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us at the Coder Academy Monday night web development full stack flex track fast track webinar. That's a mouthful. Thank you very much for giving us your time this evening. There are lots of people logged in here, and there's more coming in as I speak. So we'll just chitter chat for a couple of minutes while we allow a couple of stragglers to come in. My name's Brendan, and I'm joined here by Dallas, Goran, and Michael, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. I'll talk you through briefly what we're going to do this evening. So in a moment, I'm just going to take you through the main points of the Full Stack Developer Bootcamps. And whilst I'm doing that, Dallas and Goran are going to be behind the scenes answering any questions you might have. And Michael here is a senior trainer on which bootcamp you're training at the moment, Michael?
Fast Track.
Fast
in
Track.
Sydney.
On the Fast Track Bootcamp in Sydney. And Michael is going to be here to answer any specific questions that you may have at the end. The one thing we want this evening is do not leave without having your questions answered. This is really the last chance before the Fast Track Bootcamp starts in a week's time. So don't go away going, oh, I don't really know. Find out tonight. You've got everyone here that you need. So I'm just going to pass you over to Dallas, Goran, and Michael to introduce themselves briefly. Dallas, talk to us.
Hey, how's it going, guys? My name's Dallas. I'm actually the Brisbane enrollment agent. So if you've got questions directed specifically towards Brisbane, you can always ask me. My details will be up probably partway through in the chat and also on the screen at some point. And yeah, look forward to talking to you guys from Brisbane.
Hi, I am Goran, and I am the Melbourne dude. If you want any Melbourne questions answered, I'm the guy to go to. Just a bit of housekeeping. Hi, Karen. Any questions that you have, just pop them in the chat right here. We'll answer some along the way. We'll leave some for the end. Some will be for Michael. Some will be for us. Happy to answer anything you have. As Brendan said, this is the last chance to ask any questions before we start Fast Track next week.
Good stuff. And Michael, if you just want to give a very brief background on yourself before we kick off.
Sure, Brendan. Thank you for the opportunity to meet these candidates. I'm very excited and thrilled to be here. And hello, everyone. My name is Michael Bamford. I'm a senior lecturer at Coder Academy. I've been senior lecturer since about 2017. But I'm actually from industry. This is not my full-time gig. I'm actually a CTO and an engineering manager for a large payments company. So I actually contribute both technical and real-world experience to the program. And I've been developing coding for about 30 years. And I started on a language called COBOL, if you believe that, and moved on. And I got headhunted into Silicon Valley, stayed in the US for about 12 years, and then came back. And absolutely thrilled with the industry and being able to contribute and guide people into the industry, because there is absolutely insatiable appetite for educated, actualized, motivated people such as yourselves. And yeah, so I'll put in the chat my LinkedIn so everyone can see that. And yeah, so not to take any of the thunder away, but we're really looking forward to teaching coding, how to think like an engineer, but also work in a team environment to value create and to create something absolutely spectacular in software.
Brilliant.
Brendan.
Thank you, Michael. So guys, we'll get started with the presentation any second. So Dallas and Goran will disappear. Boom. So guys, what we want you to do is, as questions occur to you, don't hold on to them and say, I'll wait till the end. Put them in the chat as they occur to you. If Dallas and Goran can answer them, they will answer them in the chat, all right? So have your chat open so you can see the questions that are being asked at the time. And any questions that we want Michael to answer, Dallas and Gorham will save them up until the end. Yep. And then at the end, there is open slather. You can ask anyone anything you like, okay? And can I just say, it is tremendous to see so many people here that I have been engaging with either on the phone or through email. Elizabeth, lovely to see you. Garvey, Karen, blimey, Julia. Who else? I saw Mohammed there. Mohammed, how are you going, mate? Very special to see you here. Gino, who else is there? There's an awful lot of people that I haven't been able to put anything other than an email address or a phone number to. So guys, we'll and Mandy, we'll have more of a chance to have a chat later on. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and let's hope all the tech works. Ooh, that's it. That's more like it. That's more like it. Dallas, Gorham, do you want to lose your video so we got more space here, or is that's it? That's the way. Okay. All right, guys. So this, as I say, is the presentation for the full stack coding boot camps. Can you become a full stack web developer in as little as 6 months? Yes, you can. We've got a 6-month program and a 10-month program. We're going to talk about both of them this evening. Why would you even think about doing this? Well, there's quite a few good reasons. The average salary of a programmer or developer is about $110,000. The full stack engineers rank in the top 5 most in-demand skills globally, and there is job growth going bananas. So there is plenty of opportunity, plenty of money, and plenty of demand. So if this is your thing, or this may be your thing, you're in the right place. Just an example here of some of the companies that we work with and have worked with. We have literally hundreds of industry partners that we come in to speak on the courses, take our interns at the end of the boot camps, and also employ our graduates. Many of those you'll recognise. I'm having some kind of technical issue here, and I'm hoping. Died there for a second. I'm hoping I'm back. Was that Michael? Can you just tell me? Did I get lost? Did I disappear for a while there?
No, not very long. Momentarily.
Okay. So guys, look, webinars. You know, every now and again, internet goes down. Whatever. If it happens, I'll be back. If I'm not back, Dallas will jump in and take over. So yes, the kind of businesses that we work with, large and small, some of them you'll know very well, some of them you won't have heard of, and the kind of roles that the boot camp sets you up for. Front-end and back-end developers, and obviously you put those two together and you get a full stack developer. If you don't understand some of the jargon as we're going through here, guys, don't worry about it. You can ask questions. There is no question that is too silly. Just ask away. Software engineers, product managers, and mobile apps developers are the typical kind of roles that our graduates go into. Here's the nitty-gritty of the boot camp. I'll talk about the fast track one first, because the fast track starts a week today on the 22nd of February. Fast track is what it says. It is fast. It is intense. You are engaged on Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. basically for 6 months. There's a couple of weeks break in there, but essentially it's 6 months. Get in, go hard. Super intense, be immersed in code. My way of thinking about this is, if you enjoy coding, fast track is cocaine for coders. You can't get enough. It is absolutely head-blowing, but super fast and super intense. The quickest way that you can get to be a full stack developer to an industry standard. So fast track starts on Monday. As I say, it's 6 months, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. There is an optional internship at the end. The internship is not part of the boot camp. It is added value. Well, I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And fast track is delivered in a blended format, 3 days face-to-face in the classroom. That is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, face-to-face in the classroom. and Thursday, Friday delivered remotely. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have to get out of bed and put your big boy shoes on and get into town. Thursday and Friday, you leave your bedroom slippers on, okay? We run it out of Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, and the qualification at the end of the boot camp is a higher education diploma of IT. Why does that matter? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is the only boot camp that offers any kind of qualification, and in this case, it's a higher education qualification. Employers know that. Employers know that you have had to jump over a significant bar. You've had to jump over a higher education bar to actually graduate the boot camp. So it impresses employers, number one. Number two, if you are an Australian citizen, because it is a higher education course, that means you get access to fee help. Fee help obviously being the government loan system that covers all of your upfront fees. Yes, you then have to pay the government back, but it takes away that sting of the upfront fee. And the third reason that it being a higher education diploma course that may matter to some of you is if you wish to flip this boot camp into a computer science degree following the boot camp, you can do. So most unis will give credit for the first year of their computer science course. So for example, at the University of Technology in Sydney, they give credit for the entire first year of their computer science degree to a Academy graduate who has a higher education diploma of IT. So that means you could either go to uni, do 3 years doing a computer science degree, come out at the end, realise you can't code very well, come and do a boot camp, spend 4 years, or you can come and do the boot camp first, get credit for the first year, do 2 more years, and you'll then have your coding skills and you'll have your computer science degree, and it will only take you 3 years. If anyone wants any more conversation about that, we can certainly do that at the end. Fees for domestic students, so that is Australian citizens and permanent residents. The fee is $19,980. For international students, $24,950 plus a $200 enrolment fee. Obviously, if you are an Australian citizen, that part there, the $19,980, gets covered by fee help if you wish. Okay, so just breaking down the course into its, oh, hang on, sorry, before I leave that, let me just go back up there. So what I talked about there was fast track, and the reason I'm focused on that is because it starts next week. However, we do have a second pathway, and I know some of you are here this evening thinking more about the flex track pathway. So the flex track pathway is in every respect, everything that I have just said about fast track is exactly true for flex track, except for a couple of things. So let's talk about what's the same. The same thing is you get the 4-week internship at the end. There is a blended delivery model. Okay, we run it in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. You get a higher education diploma of IT. The fees are the same, and fee help is the same. So the outcomes are the same. How we get there is slightly different. Flex track, we start a month after fast track. So it starts on the 22nd of March, so in about 5 weeks' time. And it is 3 days a week for 10 months, as opposed to fast tracks, 5 days a week for 6 months. So the 3 days for flex track are Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Again, it's a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. commitment on those 3 days. The 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, are face-to-face in the classroom. Wednesday is delivered remotely. And in every other respect, it is exactly the same as fast track. It takes you a little longer to get there, but you get to exactly the same place. Why might someone do one or the other? Well, fast track remains our most popular route to full stack developer. But people who do flex track tend to do it either because maybe they have a learning style where they feel that they need a little more time to take on board ideas, or maybe they need to manage other things in their life. Maybe they've got young kids, whatever it might be, or maybe you need to earn some money part-time or casual in order to get yourself through. But either way, you come out with exactly the same result. And one thing people often ask is, do employers rather employ from fast track or flex track? No, the employers view both exactly the same. So hopefully that's clear. I'm talking about fast track here, but flex track is very similar. In fast track, you start off with HTML and CSS. You build a portfolio website. You start programming in Ruby, and you build a terminal application. Again, if you don't understand the jargon, do not worry. Okay. Then there's a week's break, and you're into term 2, where you go into Ruby on Rails. Now, Ruby is the programming language. Rails is kind of a scaffold for Ruby. It's like an accelerant, if you like, for Ruby. So you learn how to program in Ruby here, and then you learn how to do it better and faster here. There's some discrete maths. You learn how to deploy your projects, and you build a two-sided marketplace. In term 3, there's another week's break in here. In term 3, you start on JavaScript and the JavaScript MERN stack. And again, the MERN stack is really like an accelerant for JavaScript. Adds all kinds of bells and whistles. And the final project is you build a full stack web application for a real client. So you build a website for a real client. Now, at that point there, that is where you graduate, right there. The internship, as I said earlier, is optional. We try to arrange an internship for any of our graduates who want it. The internship is 4 weeks unpaid, okay? So really, the way I think about it is like a 4-week interview. Essentially, the employer is looking at you and saying, do you turn up on time? Do you do good work? Do you ask smart questions? Do you fit with the development team? And do you fit with the business culture? And what our graduates are doing is looking at the employer and saying, do these guys have my best interests at heart? Am I going to learn here what I need to learn? Are there people here who can teach me what I need to know? And do I like their culture? Does their culture fit me? So it's 4 weeks in which everybody finds out about each other. Now, it's an extraordinarily successful program. 50% of our interns are employed immediately their internship finishes. And just on that, 80% of our graduates are employed within a matter of weeks of graduating, half of those being directly through the internship. I can hear the chat going mad. There must be loads of questions coming in, which is terrific. A quick word about scholarships. Everybody wants to know about the scholarships. There's a scholarship for fast track and a different one for flex track. The scholarship is open to Australian citizens and permanent residents, and it is worth half of the course fee. So effectively, it's worth $10,000, near enough. So the fast track bootcamp that is coming up in the next week, that scholarship has already, I believe, been determined. For the one for flex track, which is in 5 weeks' time, I believe we are still taking applications and submissions for the diversity in tech scholarship. I'll just, for anyone who is thinking about the scholarship, I'll spend 2 minutes on it. Essentially, what we are looking for and what the tech industry is looking for are a cross-section of people in the industry who broaden the base of the industry and broaden the ideas and the cultures that are within the industry. So diversity can be whatever you want it to be. And from our point of view, we are looking for people who can tell their story well and who can maybe act as a role model to others. It may well be that we would tap our scholarship holders on the shoulder every now and again and say, would you mind coming and speaking at this event? Or we've got a student who's interested in X, Y, or Z. Would you mind telling them your story? So yes, that's what the scholarships are about. If you're interested, the opportunity for the Diversity in Tech Scholarship is still available for the Flex Track Bootcamp. Okay, so as we said earlier, you've met myself, Goran, and Dallas, and we are more than happy to answer any of your questions now. And the other thing that's worth doing is connecting to all of the various social media things. What you will see there is you'll get stories coming out from the students. You'll hear stuff from the actual bootcamp floor itself. You'll hear stories from the educators and from the business more generally, and get a sense of what the bootcamp is and what goes on in there. So, guys, what I would say to anyone who is thinking about Fast Track, if you haven't put in your application yet, do so as soon as you possibly can. I would do it tonight if you're thinking about Fast Track, just so you get an understanding of what the process is. Putting in an application doesn't commit you to anything. What putting in an application does is puts you seriously on our radar. And what we will do is we'll have a look at your application. If we're happy with it, right, we will schedule an interview for you. Now, it's only 7 days to go before Fast Track starts. So if you put an application in tonight, we will try and schedule it'll be an online interview. We'll try and schedule an interview for you in the next couple of days. And again, at the interview, you are not committed to anything. After the interview, if we think you are going to be successful in this course, we will offer you a place. At that point, we'll send you out some enrollment forms, okay? And at that point, that's really when you have to make the choice. You enroll yourself and you go through the process. So do not wait until you are 100% certain. There are only 7 days to go. Put your application in now. Let's get the ball rolling. You've still got 5 or 6 days to actually make your final decision. If you're thinking about FlexTrack, obviously there's 5 weeks to go, but I can tell you it is already filling. And again, if that's what you're thinking of doing, don't wait till the last minute, all right? Or because all of our courses have a significant face-to-face element, 3 days a week with Fast Track, 2 days a week with FlexTrack, the courses are, there is a hard limit to how many people we can accept into the courses. We cannot go beyond the space we've got in the rooms. Yes, and that's obviously a bit limited with social distancing, etc. So don't be one of the last people to put your application in and have us call you back and say, sorry, we're full. We'll put you on a waiting list. It's the best we do. Okay, get your questions answered here now. I might ask Dallas and Goran to jump back on stage, and we shall start going through a little bit of the chit chat. So, Dallas, anything there of a technical nature or stuff that you think that Michael could add a little oomph to?
For sure. So most of them were pretty straightforward questions, but there is one there from Malou asking, saying on the website, I saw you teach things like React and Node. How in depth are these learnings? So I thought Michael might be able to speak to that one a little bit.
Absolutely. Great question too. So the most important thing for Coder Academy, clearly it's a diploma of IT, but what's unique for this diploma is it's very pragmatic and commercial. It is geared for you, quite frankly, to get into that internship and to either in that internship or some other means, some other path to get full-time employment. So from the get-go, I'm thinking, everyone's thinking, the questions you're going to be asked in the interviews, what's going to happen, just look at the interruption, what's going to happen in that interview, what technical questions are going to be asked, who's going to be at that interview, and really for 6 months to prime you for that experience. So in terms of teaching technology, quite frankly, technology is the most straightforward part of it. You know, code, React and Node, and I will answer your question. But what's more important is to understand the conceptualization of the real world into the digital phase and how to manage that conceptualization of those abstractions and bring them to the real world. And also how do you work in a team environment. So that's really important as well. So to answer your question, Malu, is we teach React and Node and Ruby on Rails and HTML and SQL databases to an extremely commercial level, including testing, which are, you know, test-driven development. And so when you come at the end of this course, you're a very commercial developer. You can go into a project, even though you're a junior, you can start adding value to a company straight away. So yes, it's in depth and it's hard work. it's a boot camp. But the point is, you're productive day one.
Brilliant. Actually, one of the things, Michael, that I think would be worth maybe, because on phones, Dallas, Gore and myself, we speak to people who, many of whom have had some years either learning to code themselves or guys who have actually been developers maybe in an earlier life, if you like, and they're coming back to it. So they've actually got quite a bit of coding nous. And then we speak to people who are really complete beginners. And when we talk to the guys who are complete beginners, there is often quite a significant hesitancy. Is this for me? Can I do this? So I guess there's two questions in there. Number one, what would you say to complete beginners? And number two, how do you balance that differentials, particularly in the early stages of the boot camp, where you've got some guys coming in with relatively little knowledge and some people sitting there who have actually got quite a bit of background?
Yeah, right. Great question. The answer to the first question, can I do this? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. And the reason is it's every cohort has different levels of experience. That's to be said. But that has absolutely no bearing, is not a predictor of success, the amount of experience. Absolutely zero. And just the last cohort, we had two very experienced engineers come through in a larger cohort, and because they didn't get manage the project well, they didn't do their final assignment. And I want to talk about how important the assignments are. And yet we had new people, brand new experiences, who wanted to take this engineering knowledge and apply it to charities, to apply it to other goodwills, to further their career, and just amazing work, just amazing work. So why is that? How has that come about? Because it's not, the coding is the last mile. Typing on a keyboard is not software engineering. Software engineering is looking at the real world and conceptualizing those abstractions in the real world and bringing it down into this rather simple machine, this digital machine we have in front of you. That, thinking like an engineer, identifying the models, identifying the attributes, identifying the relationships and how this works together. And then once you do all that, you can actually digitize it, and that's fine. So most, I would say most people don't think like an engineer. And I think that's one of the greatest takeaways of this course is it's not the coding, that's icing on the cake. You'll become a great coder at the end of this thing. It's thinking like an engineer and to be able to tackle any problem, business or otherwise, to add value. I just want to talk briefly about the assignments. And the assignments are picked especially for a reason. And the reason is when you go to the internship and go to eventually the full-time employment, an engineering manager or a CTO will maybe be a bit hesitant to employ you as a junior, who knows? And we gear you up to make sure you can manage that hesitancy on the other side of the table. And one way we can do that is there's demonstrated evidence, absolute demonstrated evidence of your ability to create value for the organization on day one. And so the assignments, sure, they test your knowledge, but really what they are is demonstrated knowledge which you can share with future employers that I can create value. And by the end of it, the work that is coming out is commercial quality. The last batch we did was astounding, and that's the point. That's the point of that. At the end of it, demonstrated evidence of create value.
I do really like that, Michael, how the assessments that we sort of have in our boot camps, those assessments are pretty much as close as we can get to almost like what a project is like in a company. So we run our assessments the same way that projects come about in tech companies, so that, it's not such a culture shock, so to speak, when you get into those companies, because you've been doing it for the past 6 months or the past 10 months already.
Correct, exactly right. And in fact, the last project is a group project. It's always a group project, will never change, because when you go into industry, you're in a team. You're in a team that you don't have any selection about. So, and if there's any hiccup in the final assessment, the final assignment, It's never technology. It's never technology. It's communication, it's prioritization, it's knowing how to use the tools, not the language, not the coding. And yeah, it's really, for Coder Academy, is to really mentor people through that process to, you know, quite frankly, create a dent in the universe through software. Yeah.
And I think that is, I mean, that's tremendous to hear you say that, actually, because I know that several of the people who are in this webinar this evening have got a little concern about, is this for me? Can I do it? And of course, the thing they're worried about is the coding. And it's great to have you just back that up, because 100% coding is a language. Yeah, we can all learn languages, right?
Yes.
And if I want to learn French, and I've said this on the phone multiple times, if I want to learn French, I go live in France. Okay, I read French books, I watch French TV, I drink French beer, and I go to the French restaurant, and I speak to the French people in the street. Yep, that's how I learn to speak French. Yep, that's how you learn to code. It is not magic. It is just be there, immerse yourself in it, and persist. If you persist, you will come out being able to code. But the thing I think that I want to underline there, from whenever we talk to graduates from the bootcamp, what they say at the end, at their graduation, is the things that surprise them. And what surprises them is the way it has changed the whole way that they think. It is not that they have learned to code. They kind of expected to learn to code, right? That's why you go to a coding. They're a bit surprised at how quickly they learned it and how much power it gives them. But the thing that absolutely knocks their socks off, and it will knock your socks off if you come and do this boot camp, is the way it changes the whole way you think and the whole way you view the world and the whole way that you learn. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing they all say is they have just made 20 or 30 friends for life. That's the other thing, the culture in the boot camp. Actually, Michael, talk a little bit about the culture on the boot camp floor, because that is massive, isn't it? The way that a lot of the learning doesn't just come from the trainers, does it?
I would say absolutely. I completely agree with that. It's called a boot camp for a reason, you know, and so it's intense. It's an intense 6 months, and it's geared for. It's really geared for results. It really is, not for the student results. So there is a culture of we're all in this together, and there are lifelong friendships are created. More than friendships, people have gone and often started businesses, and there's 3 just started last week or something, a business from 2 cohorts ago. But that's a good thing, because everyone has different skill sets. I'm not talking about technology. Everyone has different skill sets to bring to the table in a team. And soon you realize it takes about the first assessment to realize that the technical knowledge is only part of the picture. Bringing to the table additional skill sets in design, for example, in being able to manage a team, be able to communicate if in a team, to be able to draw out those who may be a bit more shy, or or a leader who is able to debug a program more easily, but sharing that information. That's the culture that gets developed. And I think that's because it is an intense environment where it's just not, you just don't come into boot camp, then leave, you stay and you with your team for those 5 days. Yeah. You're on the
I think while the boot camp is a springboard into work, that is the main goal of it. We always have students that go into uni afterwards. So that's an option. Because we're an accredited boot camp, that means that we're equivalent to first year degree of any computer science, name it, degree in Australia, and you can always go into the second year. What do you think, Michael, on that thing? Is it something that they should consider, like upskilling after the boot camp, because we can't teach them everything?
That's an option. Everything's an option. Everything's an option. But I can tell you, after 4 years of a tertiary education or 6 months of this boot camp, you're more commercial in this course. And I suggest by the time you get to it, you're going to have I shouldn't say this, but you're going to get offers, and you're like, well, what do I go and do another 2 years at university, or what I needed to achieve has been done, as it were. And so I think after 6 months, you do the internship. The point of the internship is to leverage that into full-time employment. I would go and do the full-time employment. If you want to go and complete a tertiary 4-year degree, maybe even a master's, that would be an option. But I feel Code Academy is so pragmatic. It's got the scholastic learning as well, but so commercial and pragmatic to get people into industry that I feel you probably should go and do a year after that in industry and then decide. But that's I must admit, that's my opinion. I think
that's also, I feel like it's our opinion as well, because honestly, there's a lot of people that are always coming to us and sort of saying, should I choose the bootcamp or should I choose uni? And if there's anyone here listening now, absolutely choose the bootcamp first, because if you go and do, uni, you go and do 3 years at uni, and then afterwards you can't get a job in the industry because you feel like you haven't been taught the right skill set, and then you come and do our boot camp, and then in 6 months' time you've got a job, and that's fantastic. But we don't want you to waste your money, so come and do the boot camp first, and then if you really feel like you need to go to uni, then go and get, because you've got recognition of prior learning, go then. But to be honest, we feel like 9 out of 10 times the student will complete our boot camp and move straight into industry. Uni's not even on the cards by the end of it. Yeah.
There's just one question here. Sorry, Michael. There's a question here from Edgar, which I think you might be able to address. He says, "Seems a lot of technology we're going to learn. Will we more focus on one of two main languages which are more popular in real IT industry, like JavaScript, React.js, AWS, MySQL?" Can you see that one?
That's a great question. So I'm just reading it now. So the technology we teach obviously is great teaching languages, but they're extremely commercial. And I'll just share with you a site. The language, we start off obviously with HTML, CSS, with a perp lawyer, because that's just that's the entry. Let's get it going. After that, we teach a framework called Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails, let me just provide you this URL for you. Ruby on Rails is a framework for web application. Excuse me while I just get this link up for you. And it's very commercial. Probably it's about 15 years old, and I can't find it.
I'm just liking the way we got people in the chat already catching up with one another. That's brilliant. Actually, Mohammed, are you still there? Mohammed Reza Fayazi, if you're still there, can you just drop something into the chat so I know? I might ask you something in a second.
I'll just. Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to.
Oh, good.
Somebody to keep.
I'll just chat. Mohammed, are you happy for me to tell a little bit about your story, Mohammed, or would you rather I didn't? Okay, good. So while Michael's looking that up, so look, just this was something that Mohammed is here checking in with everybody else. But what you don't know is Mohammed is currently in an immigration detention centre, and I think he's been there, if I'm right, for 7 years. So we are super hopeful that we can get Mohammed to join the course. We're making, if he does, we're going to make an exception in his case where he would have to do it all virtually, and he would. I think he's looking at the flex track. At the flex track option at the moment. So I just thought that it's a terrific story, because what it tells me is that no matter where you are and what your life circumstance is, you can still reach out through technology, you can still learn through technology, and you can still be optimistic through technology. Thanks for letting me tell that, Mohammed. How are you going there, Michael?
The site seems to be offline at the moment, which is really peculiar. But anyway, I'll continue. Later I'll put in the chat. But anyway, we teach a language called Ruby on Rails. It's one of the top 3 frameworks, with a SQL backend database called Postgres. Extremely commercial, but it's a great teaching language how to get up to speed with a transactional web app backed by a big iron database. And then we actually deploy that into production. So you have a web app in production live on AWS or Heroku or something else. Subsequent to that, we and that produces a web framework with a very good front end. But all the rage now is to have very interactive, engaging front ends based on lots of JavaScript. JavaScript being a language that's in the browser in front of us. And programming JavaScript is fun. It's been around for about 25 years, but it's in the last several years, it's really gone off like a rocket as websites have become more complex. So at the back end, Ruby and Rails, which is fantastic. And then we start teaching JavaScript at the front end. And in particular, we have a framework to use created by Facebook called React. React is extremely popular, extremely commercial, and is a leaping board into a career in itself. And we teach that in the third semester. As part of that, we also look at JavaScript on the back end, what is called the MERN stack, which Brendan talked about quickly. But that stack as a learning tool is fantastic. Opens doors to so many career options. You just don't come out as a web developer and say, there's so many options. I can concentrate on the back end and the database and can become a data scientist. If I want to be a back end developer on Ruby on Rails or on Node, I can do that. If I want to be a front end developer, I can do that with HTML, CSS, and React. If I want to become an iOS developer, I can take what I learned in React, which is for web apps, and use the technology provided by Facebook called React Native, which allows you to write iOS and Android apps. And in fact, one of our recent graduates' first job was to program mobile devices, iOS, from what he learned about React in a web app. So opens up, all those technologies just open up a wealth of options. Yeah.
I'm just loving Lauren's comment there. After I told Mohammed's story, he said, "Everyone else except Mohammed, what's your excuse now for not doing the bootcamp?"
Right.
I will just speak a little bit to fee help and payment around that, because we had a few questions at the beginning and I just wanted to sort of cover a few things. So guys, basically the breakdown of the bootcamp with payment is it's 3 installments, okay? So depending if you're international or whether you're domestic, the price is going to be slightly different, not too much, but slightly different. And but it's all 3 installments. And people were asking whether you can pay half and half. Because it is 3 installments, you can pay differently for each installment. So essentially you can pay, out of pocket, or you can pay fee help, and you can do a combination of the 2, but just keep in mind it's the 3 installments. Okay. So yeah, you're allowed to do both if you want. And also, actually, someone else mentioned earlier about attendance. And Goran said, it's a 70%, minimum attendance. Okay. Basically, look at it this way: if you're keen to participate in an internship afterwards, there's 2 major things that come into consideration with that one, and that is attendance. So you have to have good attendance, and we expect you to have a first-time pass rate on assessments. Okay, so basically the people that are putting the effort in, they're the people that will be offered internship. Okay, so basically you want to be there as often as you can. So you want to dedicate yourself to the bootcamp.
I'm just looking. Jan here is saying, if I cannot attend one of the face-to-face classes, can I attend it online? As a general rule, Jan, no. We are making an exception for Mohammed in this case. You can get access to it recorded later, but what we do not want to do is lose that face-to-face interaction by offering an online either-or option. a huge part of the bootcamp experience is actually being in the room and engaging and working as a team with the rest of your group. We deal with each situation on an individual basis, but as a general rule, you're expected to be there. If you have to miss it, you can catch up from recordings, but we're not sort of live streaming as a regular thing. Is that how you understand it, Dallas?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, you know, and Michael can speak more to this as well, but because of the way Fast Track, for instance, is laid out, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is, you know, in class on campus, and then the Thursday and the Friday are delivered via the virtual platform. Essentially, you are, you know, delivered new content on the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and you might work through a few things together with the educator, like, you know, coding along. And then when it comes to the Thursday and the Friday, you'll be sort of ticking through modules and basically working on some small things that, you know, just kind of like help you remember all the stuff that you have learned in the classes. So it's really important that you attend those in-class, on-campus classes because that's when the new content is going to be delivered to you. So you need to be there and you need to be involved.
So guys, we've done an awful lot of talking here. If you have any last questions, I'm just looking at Bella there. With COVID being pretty flippant now, how confident are you in switching between in-class and virtual? Do you expect any impact? Oh, how long's a piece of string, Bella? Which state are you in? Yes. Are we allowing tennis players into your state or not? Are the guards in the hotels breathing the air or kissing the inmates? I don't know. It's just, don't know. Look, if we have to move, we can. We've done it. We did it earlier last year. We can shift to entirely online if we need to. At the moment, we have no plans to do that. Aaron, is homework given by the end of every session? You can answer that one, Michael. What's the deal with homework?
Yeah, there is every lesson is accompanied, not homework, but challenges and activities on a digital platform called Ed. And they're really good to go through because they reinforce your knowledge. So they're being set up. And sometimes in class, we actually go through these things together. But there is a lot of material that reinforces the theoretical stuff we do during the day. Yeah.
And
I've got a question from Malou. So can you tell me when the boot camps run, and is that March and October? So Fast Track and Flex Track both run twice a year. Fast is starting on Monday, so February 22nd, and then it'll also start again sometimes in August. Now we don't have a set date for that one, but it's going to be August. About Flex Track, we're running it on the 22nd of March, first intake, and the second one usually runs in October. Now, there's a bit of a difference between those two. So the March Flex Track runs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then the October one runs Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's all.
Beautiful. Any coding apps or games, Michael, that you'd suggest people get into before the boot camp? Any favourites?
Right, that's a good question. Actually, there are coding games. I'm not a big fan of those. I think you have your own project and get stuck into it. Produce something that is shareable with the universe. Yeah, from the get-go.
Anybody else?
We treat you as engineers, commercial engineers. Yeah.
Any ideas there, Dallas? Anything else?
Yeah, I don't really have any code. I mean, there is a bunch on Steam, to be honest, but I haven't really, bought any and played with any. But yeah, look, I think, yeah, like I say, to be honest, just start off with, places like codecademy.com and maybe freecodecamp.org, those sort of places, and they're free, right? So there is paid parts, but you don't need to pay. Just jump on there, play with like some there is HTML and CSS. You can dabble in that too, but we suggest to play with Ruby, all right? Because Ruby, that's the first object-oriented language you're going to be playing with. So you want to dabble in that one to make sure that it's something you can grasp and something that you're going to enjoy, So play with some Ruby on codecademy.com is what I suggest. And look, if you type in coding into Steam, there is actually tons of stuff on there. I haven't got any of it though. I haven't actually played with any of them.
If I have to mention coding apps, like on the phone, I've got Grasshopper and Mimo here. You might want to give them a go. They're very interactive and intuitive. But personal favorite is Free Code Camp for me. If you're a beginner, Free Code Camp is an amazing website where you can become a developer.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Free Code Camp, of course, just to get an idea of what's going on.
I think we're getting towards the end here now. So, guys, we will take any last questions. But certainly I would like to thank all of you for giving your time this evening and keeping this webinar very much alive. Oh, we've got something in from Aaron here, a late arrival. So, guys, we'll take a couple more questions. If you want to stick around, we'll keep talking. So Aaron says, so for programming languages we are learning, if we are applying to do a job that requires, oh yeah, good question, another programming language, we will most likely not get that job. No. Talk about that, Michael.
Yeah, no. It doesn't. We use the programming language, sure, they're very commercial, but these languages help you how to approach being an engineer. So languages come and go. I can't count how many languages I've learned in my life. They come and go. So the point of all this is you know how to approach a programming language, to learn it, and also, like I say, to act and think like an engineer, and how to digitize this complex real world around us. And that's the point of the course, to leverage that into commercial. And when you're going for an interview, you be upfront. I don't know Python, but that doesn't stop it. You can always throw a book at a person, but how do they approach a problem? How do they, what process goes on in their head to model the real world? What views and controllers will they develop? How will they architect their app? How will they work with their team? How do they, if they don't know a problem, do they get flustered or not? How do they think? These are the stuff which we would hope to instill in you. So when you go to an interview and it's sort of a technology that you're not familiar with, you can manage that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, so Aaron, look at it from this perspective, right? So, it all comes down to people talking about Python versus Ruby versus C versus,
right.
all these things, right? It all comes down to don't worry too much about what object-oriented language you learn first, okay? Once you've got a couple under your belt, you can pick up others quite easily. It's just all about learning the new syntax that goes along with it, okay? So people get really hung up on the first object-oriented language they learn, and you don't need to at all. Yeah,
that's right.
I always say, and feel free to burst my bubble, Michael, if I'm not correct, but once you learn one, you learn them all, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's going from 0 to 1 is the hardest. From 1 to 2 is very easy. 1 to 2 is just incremental. 0 to 1, that's the big step.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Yeah.
So let's go from 0 to 1, people. I'm going to go and get my supper. And Michael, I'd just like to thank you for your time here and for your insights. And Dallas, Goran, and myself will be in touch with many of you over the coming days, I'm sure. And I hope we see many of you on the bootcamp in the coming days and the coming weeks. Lovely to chat to everybody. I'm going to hit the kill button any second. Here it goes.
Thank you, everyone.